Watch out, Discount Paul, the pride of the Grey Rats is back. Just like any good father would do, you ditch your kids to make your oldest child play daddy instead. That's what a true man of the Grey Rats would do. Also in this episode, yikes! It's time to send her back to Japan, boys. Of course, guys, in this video, there are going to be spoilers for Season 2, Episode 15 of Far or Haruka. This episode is another great slice of life episode. Rudy starts to shoulder everyone's bullshit like the head of the household, aka what being a man is about. And of course, that damn 7 stars is gonna want to stay for some of that Rudy booty. The episode opens up with Real Paul's tagging me, yo, you dad now. Wait, let me set you up first. Real Paul updates Rudy about his next moves to track down Zenith, his wife that everyone apparently forgot about. Paul and his group is at the Eastport getting ready to cross over to Bigarit. It's basically almost as crappy as the Demon Continent. Remember all that deserty sand and Roxy's people's prejudice against Roxy basically being an autistic equivalent for their people? Yeah, Aisha and Norn, Rudy's little sisters, aren't going to survive such a terrible terrain. Real Paul ended up saying that a good friend had offered to escort Aisha and Norn all the way to Rudy's mansion. By process of elimination, I'm sure everyone assumed it's a certain bald-headed Sperdo. And just another thing to throw upon Doranuma's shoulders, Norn despises Rudy and get ready to referee the sibling rivalry. If I'm being real, everything that Real Paul has done has actually made a ton of sense. And is actually a really good way for Rudy to support his new family while at the same time support his dad's family, which is his family, while they are in a family crisis. But you know guys, responsibilities suck, as we'll come to find out later in this episode. So the hook of the episode at face value is about Paul taking his next steps to find his wife, while basically making Rudy shoulder part of the family load in the meantime. This is fairly one of the most reasonable decisions that Real Paul has done. On a more conceptual level, it sets up the episode to be about responsibilities, your duty as a provider, being a good friend, being a good family man. As you become more and more responsible, people look to you, and you have to take on other people's stresses as their stresses start to become a part of your burden. All the while, Rudy has to be a good husband to Sylphie and maintain his own goddamn sanity. It really puts into perspective the neat Rudy from Earth that never had any of this, now has like everything that he didn't have in his previous life. Even though things are going to get tough for Rudy, it's the reward of feeling like his dad, Real Paul, cares and puts this special responsibility upon him. So after the credits, Sylphie is in her apron getting all the modern day feminists angry. Sylphie is really fulfilling her role as a traditional wife really well. Rudy updates Sylphie about Paul's situation and the kids coming in. I mean, somebody gotta fill up the rooms in this big ass, convenient ass, cursed mansion with cursed little kids. Eventually, Rudy and Sylphie have their dinner together, eating next to a lit candle. There's nothing like striving for this love and peace. To get a similar feeling like this every day of your life, from the bliss of eating with your wife every day, is something I'm sure we all envy on some level. Then Rudy asks Sylphie if she had anything that he could do for her since she has been so good to him, besides the smashing. Sylphie responds with Rudy teaching her the spell that took down Fitz. Apparently, it's called Disturb Magic, or Ranma. It basically cancels out the other person's spell, confined within a certain body part that the other person is trying to use. So like if you try to touch yourself with one hand, disturb, you must now use your other hand. After dinner, both Rudy and Sylphie go outside to try to teach each other's spells. Sylphie is like, I don't think incantation-less healing works differently from other spells. Rudy's like, he doesn't know what it's like to be on the receiving end. Rudy only knows what it's like to blow stuff up. I mean, boys will be boys. As Sylphie makes her attempt at the disturb spell, Rudy asks if their kids would be good at magic. Aww, they ain't having any. Sylphie brings up the point that her elf side is the whore side, so they might not have any. Then gotta have one of these laughs in these videos because concubines. Sylphie offers concubines to Rudy if Sylphie can't conceive. it's time to bring Sarah back and make up for lost time. Rudy does the wrong thing by ditching his hall passes and decides to speak music to any woman's ears and says that ain't about the kids, it's about this elf booty. They end up saying they love each other while the girls that are watching feel their heart flutter and us guys feel the cringe. When it's Sylphie's time of the month, Rudy, you're gonna want those concubines. Big fail. The scene shifts to morning, and this is where Nanahoshi begins her biggest character development to date. What will she bring to the story? Hopefully, a love triangle, a side chick, or a concubine. Okay, realistically, a friend. Rudy ends up at Nanahoshi's place where she's basically spent her entire existence trying to get her ass back to the real world with her Nihonjins. This entire time, she's basically reverse engineering magic circles that let her summon objects from the other world with Rudy's help. She has a giant sheet of paper with really cool tattooed looking design on the ground, ready for Rudy to activate it. Nanahoshi says that if the circle magic thing works, they're one step further in the process of going back to human only booty. From summoning objects, hopefully she can start summoning people and be able to teleport herself back to Earth. Nanahoshi starts to explain that summoning larger and more complex objects requires greater mana. Mana itself just turns into objects like how Rudy turns magic into spikes and other shit. The summoning circle lights up as Rudy activates it. Rudy notices something odd about it as it lights up. The circle burns out as the corner of the circle paper gets a really burned line running from the corner to the middle or the middle to the corner. Imagine working years of your life for this one moment, like the Olympics, and you end up falling on your ass. Nanahoshi looks to be absolutely devastated as her upbeat energy turns into what the she relieves Rudy for the day, and as he leaves, he notices how much more tense she's been. Like something is totally off. Then all the stress starts to surface into this scream.
Ah! Sick of all these furry people and elves and shit.
Rudy rushes back into her room and Nanahoshi is throwing quite the belligerent tantrum. After destroying her room and maybe some of her life's work in the process, her real face shows up. Yikes! Quick, somebody give her some Pedialyte. Get some sleep, lady. Rudy is like, it's not so bad here. Maybe find yourself a half-elf man like I did. Nanahoshi's body looks like it just shriveled up in disgust. Rudy ends up having to carry Nanahoshi from all the stress and frustration that has built up within her throughout the school. Everyone is basically like, WTF, this is totally sus as hell. But no. The true friend, Zaba, got his master and friends back. Another thumbs up for your boy Zaba. They are the very underappreciated characters. They end up taking her to the infirmary, and little Miss Julie notices that Grandmaster is starting to look Hidoi-sugi. This is the start of Rudy being a good friend, having to take on one of his friend's problems. On the flip side, when you have friends like Zaba, it kinda evens out. Just like the convenience of the supermassive cursed mansion, it's not only 2 kids that he has to take in, he might have just found himself a sickly concu. Okay, a little bit too dark. He might have found himself a side piece whenever she's healthy again, and she gets to stay right at the crib. To be realistic here, it makes a ton of more sense for Rudy and Nanahoshi to be closer in proximity, as she might be able to advance her research a little faster, but the story didn't take that route. You guys have to forgive me, I watched the Apothecary Diaries and it's infected my mind with concubines. As Zaba carries Nanahoshi to the cursed mansion, Rudy picks up Julie to carry her as well, asking her how Zaba has been treating her. Of course, Zaba may be a bit over the top, a bit eccentric, but he still has very noble qualities. You got to have your trusted bestie like your Jinho's of solo leveling and Ichikawa's of Kaiju number 8. Zaba and Cliff are those archetypes. So Julie answers he's pretty awesome and feeds her pretty damn well. After Julie answers, Rudy fears that Nanahoshi doesn't have the pleasantry of a support system of friends and family that gets to enjoy meals with company to keep her sanity and not as isolated. Remember that Nanahoshi's position is much different than Rudy's. Rudy literally got to grow up again with parents that raised him and loved him. Nanahoshi is out here walking with Orsted. That doesn't sound like a fun time at all. Even Rudy and Nanahoshi share a secret and both are Nihonjin Tachi. Just because you're the same ethnicity, it doesn't mean you know anything about each other. Nanahoshi ends up back at Rudy's mansion and is destroyed mentally and physically in ways that are really damn depressing. Sylvie comes out of the room after changing her clothes and acknowledging that she is probably suffering from extreme exhaustion. She gave her a little healing spell to boot to make matters more dark and even more depressing. Sylvie pulls out something long and sharp that Nanahoshi was hiding under her clothes, and we could come to the conclusion that Jisatsu. Being that I'm your guys' favorite cringe YouTube creator, I totally get her position. Rudy ends up thanking the homie Zaba for helping him and Nanahoshi out. And of course, Zanaba's like, of course. It feels like Rudy has done so much for him, so why wouldn't he return the favor? Here comes another indicator in the story that things that have been taking a little bit of toll on Rudy, as Zanaba asks if Rudy's okay because his face is just as messed up as Nanahoshi's. That's real bad. Put that thing away. With Paul dumping his sisters onto him, the normal pressures of marriage, now his Japanese colleague is sick, the amount of pressure and responsibilities are weighing more and more on Rudy, and it's just more and more that he has to help shoulder for other people. Doranuma, welcome to being a man. Rudy understands exactly how Miss Silent must feel with being a shut-in from his previous life. You know what, guys? I'm down for a Rudy and Shizuka ship, to be honest. Zanaba offers his help if Rudy ever needs it. Zanaba and Cliff, it's good to have friends, guys, even if they are a little bit off. Damn, girl, you okay? You know, women would die being forever young, you know. You good? After Rudy makes his attempt to cheer Nanahoshi up with some chips and offering of a nice bath, Nanahoshi finally speaks as he attempts to leave to explain that she basically can't connect the circus to that one last point. It's physically impossible. Impossible, huh? You guys don't understand. This is the great rudest Doranuma Grerato. She drops back into bed with the conclusion that she'll never be able to go back home. You really sure you don't want to find yourself a half elf man? How about Kraft from Freerin? Rudy brings together his ragtag of Rudy Avengers, a poor simp, naughty collector, and child slave to finish the impossible that Nanahoshi couldn't do all these years in regards to the magic circle that will help teleport her Japanese ass back to ER. Sometimes having an outside perspective can bring something new to the table that wouldn't otherwise be seen. Rudy points out the cut in the circle where the mana dies out and the simp, Cliff, thinks softcore about it. Zanuma brings up the point of a compound design by layering overlapping circles to make one effect due to his moving doll research in the previous episodes. That coincidentally ties into this current magic circle problem. Tensai Cliff checks out the moving doll but still can't figure it out. The cougar quells young Cliff's frustration. The magic circles being used on the doll to make it move may be the key to solving Nanahoshi's circle. Rudy brings his Avengers together to show the still visibly distraught Nanahoshi their findings, and then of course, from visibly dry, she's now slightly moist at the idea of figuring out how to make the magic circle. Even as she starts drawing new ones, your boy Cliff helps her out. I thought everyone knew that all squares make a circle. Rudy's Avengers and Nanahoshi stay up all day and night at her place to figure out how to make the right magic circles work. Then Rudy activates the new magic circles that now are accompanied by multiple layers of those drawn magic circles. This time there's no funky short circuit, and all the circle appears to the people of this world's amazement, even more so than magically shooting fireballs, seeing demi-humans and elves. It's none other than a goddamn plastic bottle. Did Nanahoshi just stumble upon a new way to recycle plastic? Maybe. Rudy gets happy for Nanahoshi's success and she gets extremely excited. So excited that she ends up blushing because she will just end up as Rudy's side piece. Rudy says that next time she can just pay him back. Wink, wink. Then Alina Lise, thinking like any other thought, decides it's time to party. They need to party and celebrate, but on her dime. After going through all this crap for Nanahoshi believes that this will make everything even. And just like that, Nanahoshi turned from, oh my god, let's send her back to, hey, maybe stay and be a concubine. A friend. Be a friend and just stay. And that is pretty much the end of the episode, but wait a minute. There's a scene after the after credits. After a fun get together and partying with all the homies, after Nanahoshi's success, Rudy carries a messed up Sylphie and we can hear a couple of bickering little girls yelling from far away. If you thought Rudy's headaches and stresses was about to be over, surprise mother. Look, it's Ryujin and the cursed children, Aisha and Norn. Get ready to play daddy, Rudy. You're gonna love it. Rudy might not want children anymore after this, and that's pretty much how the episode ends. One of the coolest things about this show is its relatability. Remember, fat neat Rudy didn't have any friends and purposes, and now he does. Not only are his family and friends growing and expanding, everyone is having to rely on him. And that's a heavy burden to bear, which naturally comes with being more responsible, purposeful, being a good friend. This is entirely a great life lesson, but being a great person means you gotta do great things. I loved how the previous episode and this episode each used the hook to tie in the entire episode. It really sets us up for what Rudy is about to experience and all the lessons that will come behind his experience. It's nice to see some character development for Nanahoshi. Even though she's technically still in the same position looking for the answers of how she can teleport back to ER, it's nice to see her experience adversity and maybe, just maybe, be Rudy's side piece. Okay, she's a part of the friend group now. She might not be as much of a shut-in now. She might actually hang out and party with them more and celebrate and just be a part of everyone's lives. Cause we all need social interaction, guys. We all can't be Master Roshi with nudie magazines in the middle of an island somewhere with a turtle. Now, it's time to deal with these cursed goddamn children. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. When it comes to slice of life, I really love the little nuances and lessons and how they really use the characters. It makes me pay attention more and more to how they're trying to build something up and how they're connecting certain dots. Some of the things like Rudy's responsibilities are growing more and more, and they use certain things like Zaba pointing out how Rudy is looking messed up. Not only Zaba, Julie also pointing out, hey Rudy, you're looking a little bit more exhausted as well. It's just a natural part of becoming an adult, and as you become more and more worthy and more useful for people, you just naturally take on more and more of that burden. And not only that, you have the wife now, and the wife wants kids, or maybe you want kids, and you have all this stuff swirling around. So there's a lot of stuff here. Even though it's not really main plot oriented, you're still getting to see all the struggles that the characters are going through, the dilemmas that the characters are going through, and it still feels pretty satisfying to watch those things happen and occur. Now we get to experience what these kids are like, what his little sisters are like now. But shout outs to Real Paul. Even though we're not able to follow him on his journey, I'm sure that is probably the more exciting part of this whole story. But yeah guys, I'm totally cheering for Rudy to make multiple mistakes because it wouldn't be as exciting otherwise. But yeah guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode all the way up to this point. Please don't spoil it. Do me a favor guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusin.com. And I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.